Welcome to the Level Up Artist Podcast. We're your hosts, Adriana May and
Jackie Sanders. We are two art professionals sharing for the advice and business lessons we have learned along our creative journeys.
we talk to artists, leaders, and art professionals to demystify the creative process and discover new ways to succeed as career-minded artists.
If you find value in these conversations, please go ahead and subscribe. This will help other creatives like you find our podcast, and you will be notified when we drop a new episode every Tuesday. On today's episode, it's going to be a bit of a shorter episode, but before we are full swing into the holiday season, we wanted to make sure that we did a check-in because typically the holiday season can go from 0 to 100 every single year. So we want to make sure that we catch you career-minded artists early this year to talk about avoiding burnout during the holiday season.
Yeah. And of course, the holidays are different for everyone. It can be joyous, they can be challenging or difficult. But when it comes to our art business and creative practice, we also need to be aware of where our mindset is because balancing all these different things can be difficult. So, as always, our goal is to strike that balance between your art making creative time, your responsibilities as a business owner. And then, of course, there's also family gatherings and art markets and holiday sales, and it can all feel very overwhelming very fast, which is honestly against, the reverse of what holiday seasons should hopefully feel like.
Exactly. So hopefully this conversation will really help shift your mindset going into the holiday season. Hopefully it'll make you feel more relaxed, more prepared with dealing with this balancing act. So as we enter into the end of October, the tornado that is typically November and December is coming. So hopefully this conversation will help equip you with an action plan so that you can enjoy your holiday season this year, no matter how busy you are.
Absolutely. So I feel like our first step would be to figure out what that best balance looks like for you. And this is going to be different for everybody, of course. But the first thing within that is to think of time management and setting realistic expectations for yourself. We all want, those 500 things on our to-do list and things to release and will I make it on time? But honestly, like, take that and I would honestly slash it in half and then go from there. And then if you can add more, that's different. So time management wise, what is that ideal balance of you for art making time, art business time? You have to schedule some relaxation time, some time off in there, some social family time. A lot of these things, you can start putting them on your schedule as soon as possible. So you kind of see what some of these things look like as you try to block them off. How many markets are actually sustainable? How many did you do last year and the year before? And how many are you willing to sign up for this year? And depending on when you're listening to this, some of those deadlines are either coming up or they just passed. So, with what's still open, what else can you take on? How many social events are sustainable? If you're an introvert or an artrovert like me, I'm going to put the least amount that I have to because I obviously want to support my friends and family also doing markets and things like that. But yeah, how many of them can I do? Some is the answer. If you're feeling creatively depleted after a full weekend of markets, maybe it's okay that you are not making a lot of artwork during this time. A lot of seasoned artists that do markets will create a lot of it in the summer or early fall, because they know once they go into market mode, there's less time to think about the creative process. So they create their stock, especially. I'm thinking of those folks working in ceramics. They have to do a lot of this in advance before we get to the busy season. With the changing of the seasons, are you one of those folks where your energy goes in your business? Or the energy that's going into your business changes too, and what can you do about it? Do you have to do anything about it, or do you embrace that it's part of the cycle, and how do you handle that? And as an art business owner, you have to ask yourself, if your boss was telling you to do this, what would you think of them? So are you really going to work those 13 hours on Sunday right before, you have to go into your other job, and then you have a market a few days later, and then you're going to work through the nights, and then, you know what I mean? Like, try to reverse engineer this to try to see what your weeks actually look like, based on the other commitments that you have. Do you have to go to your kids' play, but you also have to crank out how many mugs that same evening? Yeah. Take a look at the numbers in your time blocks and see what you can move around and what's sustainable, honestly.
Yeah, I think setting realistic expectations for yourself can honestly be the hardest part during this season because as artists and as business owners, we often want to do everything. You want to do all the markets, you want to do all your family events, you want to have intentional time, but also make the best artwork you've ever made before during this season and sell all the things. Um, but really being honest and realistic with yourself can often help with that pressure. But another element is also communicating those expectations with your loved ones. So, communicating what your goals are and what your intentions are so that they can help you through this season. Maybe if you have designated creative time of, you know what, every Tuesday evening, for example, I'm going to need help with the family, or I'm not going to be able to go out to dinner with friends on Tuesday nights because I'm going to be in my studio working for the next 2 months, each of those evenings. Um, Having things like your designated introvert time to recharge, saying, I want to be fully present at our family gatherings, but I just had a market yesterday. So when it comes to Saturday night, after doing a market all day, Saturday day, I am not going to want to hang out with people after doing a market all day because we have a family event on Sunday and I need to recharge Saturday night. Really just directly communicating that, which of course, as friends and loved ones, they may know these aspects of their personality, but they don't know all aspects of your business. They don't know the million ideas and timelines going through our head as business owners all the time. And that's often where that frustration and tension can come because they don't know that asking you to go out to dinner with friends is the boiling point of this pot of water. And you're like, how do you not understand? So communicating upfront can be super, super helpful with keeping the waters calm, especially when it comes to potentially having to miss events for art making or an event such as an art market. Communicating with your loved ones that my growing art business is a big priority for me. I have 3 events this season, and unfortunately, one of them is scheduled during your holiday Christmas party. I'm going to do my very best to get there afterwards, but I cannot make promises. Like, I would promise we'll go out to dinner, just the two of us, another time. Being able to communicate that rather than avoiding the situation can really help. They'll also help you stay accountable during this season. So taking the Tuesday night art making time as an example, it'll give them more context for saying, oh yeah, now let's not hang out on Tuesday night because I know that's your studio time. Let's hang out on Wednesday instead. Or if there is an event that you have to miss, that's one of the 10 family commitments. They understand that you're not going to miss all 10 of them. You're just missing this one, and it's for a good reason. So communicating that context can be super helpful because they're also knowing that they're part of your support system during this busy season. It's not all on your shoulders, that they can support you during the season too.
Yeah, and especially with, your core family members that are at home, shared calendars, people. Shared
Yes.
calendars. Your boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, whatever, your significant other. It's super duper helpful if even if it's tentative, but you're like, I have a really good chance I'm gonna get into this market and it's on X date, especially if there's kids involved, you can be like, can you go pick them up because I need to do this and then I need to set up and then the tent and things like that. You know what I mean? And or they might
Mhm.
be able to come out and help you out. But if they don't know, they don't know. So, and they're not going to remember if you told them 3 months when you got accepted in advance of when the event happened. So, if possible, please have shared calendars. It will help you a lot because then they can be like, oh, I should not schedule to visit the in-laws on the day you have a market because now the in-laws are upset that you didn't go to their party, but you did this 3 months ago. Anyways, so yeah, be communicative with the people you live with. It will be very, very helpful. Another thing that comes into this is to shift events or think of events as potential networking opportunities. We all know that some events you prepare for, you have all your ducks in a row, crossed the T, dotted the I's, however those expressions go, and sometimes they don't go that great. However, important to have that mindset of like, these different types of events, art business events. If you're doing a market, you get to make connections with fellow creatives that might be in the booth next to you. And who knows, you might be able to trade things, whether it's the things that you make or maybe services, or maybe they'll come and assist you in a project in the future or vice versa. Like you never know. Also, if you are the one attending the market, you can think of it as research time for your own booth setup, pricing, table layout. Hot warning, hot warning. Like, I have to mention this. This is not the time to talk to everybody, though. This is like, I don't want to call it spy research. That's not the right word. It's not to pick their brain on how they did their tent so that you can do it the same, because they're trying to sell and you're obviously not going there to buy. So please, this is more for you to check it out, and please don't take photos. Well, like, please don't make that obvious. Like, you can store it in the noggin, but this is your time to go and talk and do research and maybe like exchange information. Just don't linger. That's my big sign right there. Please do not linger. We all do research, but do not linger. Say hello. If you can support them, please support them. This goes a long way too. Even if all you're buying is a sticker, right? This goes a long way to the beginning of perhaps a beautiful relationship, a beautiful friendship. And then you can ask them later on questions about like, hey, where'd you get this tablecloth? It's really cool. Whatever. Leave that for later. But you start the relationship in person. So yes, networking
Yeah.
opportunity.
You definitely leave those for the Instagram messages and follow-up text or email, which can be great. Like, meet in person, have good conversation, and then connect later over coffee or on social media can be super helpful.
Exactly.
Also thinking during this time of really mindset shift for events. Obviously, there's business events where you're making sales, you're networking with other artists, you're getting ideas for your booth. But the holiday season, of course, also has personal events. So shifting that mindset for some artists, especially if you're in like go, go, go business mode, it can sometimes, of course, we love family events or get-togethers with friends, but it can feel like, man, I'm just so tired. I don't even want to be here. I want to be getting ready for this next market. Maybe you're stressed out. But thinking of your personal events too as a time to celebrate your business. These are get-togethers with people that you may not see on a weekly basis normally, but you get to also celebrate your wins with them. Everyone during the season wants to say, oh, what's new? How's the last couple months been going? Especially if you're marketing your art and your business on social media. A lot of people may be knowing that you're doing these events, but they haven't talked to you about it in person yet. So use this time to talk about it. If you have an event or a product launch coming up, this is a great time to talk about it at the party. Obviously, don't let it dominate the conversation, but people like having those interesting things to talk about. And if you are nervous about talking about it, maybe you can list out beforehand 2 to 3 wins or breakthroughs that you had this year that they can be excited for you. Saying, you know what, like this month was the biggest sales that I've had in my business so far, or I just made a really great connection that I'm hoping will lead to a project in the spring, and I'm so excited for it. And it like gets them to be excited for you too, which is just good holiday uplifting energy, which we love. But that also brings us to our tip number 4, which is if you can't get that focused studio time that you want, if you really want to be in that art making mode, but whether exhaustion wise, busy schedule wise, whatever, just focus wise is not there, spend time doing creative holiday projects with no expectations. This can sound counterproductive of, okay, well, I need to be making something that I can sell. Yes, maybe. But there's also something to be said about the relaxing part of the holiday season, making memories, and really shifting that holiday stress into something fun and playful, maybe with your family and friends, doing a holiday craft night, or even just coloring pages with the kids. It can be a really fun way to still keep your hands moving, still looking at color composition with crayons on this coloring page, but it takes the pressure off and really can remind you as to why you love creating in the first place.
Yeah, yeah, no, those are some great ways to keep your hands moving without the pressure of it necessarily being your art practice. And then there's some of us, don't do this. This is a do as we say, not as we do. Guilty. Um, some of us do take the iPad to the family event. Ooh. But
Oh, they'll do
you
it.
do. I will say, if you do, hey, sometimes the conversation goes into areas that you're like, I have no idea what they're talking about, who they're talking about. Like when they're talking about the cousin's neighbor's grandfather's son, and you're just like,
So
anyways,
what?
it's good to kind of doodle a little bit. And again, it takes the pressure off. But if you do take an iPad or a sketchbook, just be prepared and please be open, when the little kiddos want to play with you and doodle with you. And
Yeah,
actually another way. And it turns very wholesome, honestly, when you're all like drawing away on Procreate. And anyways, it can have bonding opportunities. But if you do, just know you can't do the don't look at what I'm doing. You will have to turn that screen or that page around for somebody else to look, but it can invite some awesome conversations. Just prepare yourself. Um Now next up we're going to be talking about some of our top tips for this holiday season. First, we're going to put in a quick word from our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by our Level Up Artist courses.
We understand that life as a modern artist can be both exciting and overwhelming. Plus, there's a lot of information out there. So, what do visual artists actually need?
We've spent countless hours of trial and error, weeding through tons of information to find the gold, so you don't have to waste your time going down those endless rabbit holes.
In addition to weekly calls, we have created video course modules to cover everything from artist documents to exhibition prep, social media to technology, sales strategies, artist mindset, PDF resources, templates, and so much more.
Ready to get started? Head on over to levelupartists.com to learn more, get immediate access, and level up your career today.
welcome back, everybody. So, if I had one piece of advice to give everyone this holiday season, career-minded creatives especially, I think it would have to be to remember to be intentional with your time. Of course, the goal for the holiday season is to enjoy it, to make good memories. And for me, that often means really making sure that I'm also maintaining good mental, emotional, and physical health during these busy times, which often comes with the goal of being fully resting or fully working during the time. So being just very intentional with, okay, this is family time, fully family time, or I'm in recharge mode, so I'm fully recharging. Because oftentimes we can try to be doing both, and it feels like we just really didn't do either one. So while it can be hard to set aside designated time for both things, it can be helpful in terms of, let's say, if you struggle with gaining momentum during the holiday season, having something set in your calendar to work on your art or work on your business, even just for 1 hour a week or 20 minutes a day, having an evening where you're quote unquote off of the clock from a personal commitment standpoint and you can really dive into your business, it can be helpful to avoid burnout and regret when you blink and all of a sudden it's been 2 months and all of these ideas that you had didn't get any traction because you didn't prioritize that time, right? So if you're struggling with momentum, having a built-in element in your schedule can be super helpful. And that also means if you tend to go more on the workaholic side of scheduling 12,000 markets and having high expectations of yourself and doing 15-hour days, all of the craziness, also set aside that rest time, which will look different for everyone. Maybe we'll do a future episode all about different ways that you can rest. But making sure you schedule your rest time, because that can be just as important, if not more important, for long term and avoiding that burnout.
Yeah, that's Yeah, it can be hard to avoid the burnout. I'm like, I feel like, yeah, I don't know, for whatever reason, holidays, it comes hand in hand with, but I want to make all the money and I want to have like all the opportunities. And for a lot of creatives, like we have to be realistic. For a lot of creatives, half of their income comes in a very short window during the holiday season. So we get it, guys. We get it. But I would have to say my top tip is about post-holiday reflection, honestly. Whether you have a break in between events, so maybe you have a week that there's nothing going on, or for a lot of people, it's at the end of December or early January. I feel like it's super important to schedule at least one day, preferably a few in here and there, but at least one day where you can reflect on your recent holiday season and even the whole year. And highly recommended that, when you're listening to this episode, go ahead and schedule that now. Just block in some time. You move it around later, but block it off now. But this is a day where you can kind of sit down and be a little bit more introspective and say, like, okay, so far this season, or again, if you did this at the very end, how are you feeling emotionally? Are you overwhelmed? Are you feeling regretful? Are you feeling excited? Like it worked out? Like this is good. Physically, is burnout knocking on your door and coming to visit? Are you feeling tired? Are you rested? Are you actually fulfilled? Like, did you get the balance right this year of like how many events versus how many rest days? Um, Momentum wise, how are you feeling? Are you on the right track? How did the sales go? Did they go better than expected, or would have liked to see that a little bit higher? Are you feeling stuck, uninspired? Are you feeling energized and ready for the new year? Like these are all different things that you want to give yourself permission, to kind of feel and then just be like, okay, cool. This happened. This is not exactly what I expected. How I'm going to change this going forward, or it actually went really well, and doing 12 markets, let's say, was the perfect number and I don't want to do more than that, right? Actually, next year I want to do 10, and see how it goes if I focus my energy on a few less, things of that nature. You want to go ahead and document those so that it can help you plan the next holiday season, especially while it's still fresh. I know for a lot of us, we have a super busy holiday season. We just want to vegetate for a little bit afterwards, but it's good to capture these things while they're fresh. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be at the very end. You could do some of this, at least take some of these notes as you go, so that then next year you can think twice about how many markets you committed to. I know it's hard because you're going to put a lot of applications out, but if you get more yeses, then early on you can be like, actually, let me reprioritize it. And I don't want to do more than 10, but I got accepted into 15. Well, you have some emails to do, right? And respect your own body, your own, like, capacity, if you will, your own bandwidth to be able to say, actually, there's a few that I need to decline. I mean, it's great that you got accepted to so many, but you already know from last year and the notes that you took that doing more than certain amount was a bad idea. So that way you can stick to your plan. And you already documented it. So you don't have to try to remember how many you did. You actually wrote it all down while it was still fresh. So
Yeah.
hopefully that helps out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, as we enter into the holiday season, just remember that failing to plan is planning to fail. So, remember to plan ahead to make it easier this holiday season for you, your art business, and your loved ones. Remember to be easy on yourself, prioritize what you need in order to avoid burnout, and understand that consistency also means making changes with the changing seasons. So embrace the change. You got this. And we're so excited to finish the year strong alongside you guys.
We're rooting for you. But yes, we're going to go ahead and wrap it with that for this episode. So we hope you enjoyed it.
As always, our blog will be linked in today's show notes. We can find episode notes and links to all of our other podcast episodes.
And if you want to stay connected with us in between episodes, share your feedback, or have a question you would like for us to answer on the podcast, you can reach us through social media. I'm at May Art across all platforms.
And I'm at J Sanders Studio on all platforms. And if you want to follow the podcast, we're at Level Up Artist on Instagram.
You can also visit levelupartist.com to get immediate access to template, resources, and more to level up your creative career today.
Thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you next week.